Feng Liang was still constantly absorbing the heavenly Tao origin, but with the appearance of the Buzhou Divine Mountain, his absorption speed slowed down. What happened? Feng Liang was a little panicked. The sudden change might affect his fusion with the Tao ancestor. Furthermore, the other party was also from the hidden sect. Grand Master supported both the heavenly race and Li Daokong. What is he doing? Feng Liang frowned, feeling puzzled. Wasn't Hanju not interfering? If this continued, wouldn't the heavenly Tao in the future be completely controlled by him? The more Feng Liang thought about it, the more shocked he became. Unknowingly, Hanju had already planned so deeply. He was very curious about where Hanju obtained the Buzhou Divine Mountain. Time passed quickly. Another 1,000 years passed quickly. Hanju opened his eyes and looked at the Buzhou Divine Mountain first. The current Buzhou Divine Mountain was 9 trillion kilometers tall. It could connect to 9 heavens. It was unknown how long it was, but it stretched for more than 10 regions. Countless living beings lived on the Buzhou Divine Mountain. Their providence was boundless. Li Daokong had also reached the late stage of the pseudo-sage realm because of this. Li Daokong had already accepted hundreds of thousands of disciples. Their potentials were all different. Even Han Yu had become his disciple. In just 1,000 years, the Buzhou Divine Mountain had already become a major force in the immortal world that could not be underestimated. However, this colossus did not reveal its ambitions and was not a threat to the other factions for the time being. The current immortal world was becoming more and more interesting. The heavenly race, the famous race, the demons, the loose heaven sect, the sage sect, the human race, the Buzhou Divine Mountain, the Divine Palace, the Dragon Palace, the underworld, and so on were all complicated. Hanju could finally experience the feeling of a sage. He was high and mighty. Everything was in his control. It was like playing chess, but when the game annoyed you, you could overturn it. However, relying on your own skills to win against your opponent was even more satisfying than overturning the game. Hanju was playing chess now. After cultivating for so long, it was quite interesting to occasionally plot. Now, the sages did not dare to target him, including his forces, which made him very bored. Hanju wasn't in a hurry. As the hidden sect's size increased, the sages would react sooner or later. Hanju looked at Hanyu. This guy was cultivating in a small corner of the Buzhou Divine Mountain. His karma with Li Daokong was very shallow. The two of them should have never met. With Li Daokong's personality, he probably did not have the time to see all the living beings on the mountain. Hanju looked at Han Tuo now. This fellow had already proved himself in the Divine Palace. Even Jing Tiangong no longer made things difficult for him because this kid's cultivation level was quickly catching up to Yi Tian. Han Tuo's rise also stimulated Yi Tian. He no longer fought everywhere and was recently busy cultivating in seclusion. Peace is awesome. Hanju sighed. He hoped that such a period of time would last for billions of years. At that time, his great Tao would definitely be invincible. When he was invincible, he wouldn't cause trouble. He would travel around and enjoy the chaotic scenery. Hanju read the emails for a while more and continued cultivating happily. Divine Palace, in a dark palace. Jing Tiangong sat on the throne with a lazy posture. He wore a blood-patterned black robe and a crown. He was extremely dignified. A black shadow suddenly appeared in the hall. It swayed like a candle flame. Sect Master, it's not good for the disciples of the Divine Palace to have internal discord, the black shadow said in a low voice with a helpless tone. Jing Tiangong frowned. Why? Aren't there many disciples who are discouraged because their potential is inferior? The black shadow smiled bitterly. It's not about potential, but the legend of the Dark Forbidden Lord is too distant. Many disciples don't believe it. Hearing this, Jing Tiangong frowned even more and cursed in a low voice. A bunch of ignorant worms. The black shadow said, the other disciples of the darkness sect have already infiltrated the various sects. The situation is roughly the same. The legends of the Dark Forbidden Lord are really too few. It's very difficult to believe. Jing Tiangong couldn't help but sigh. The black shadow was silent. After a long while, Jing Tiangong waved his sleeve and said, "Go down. I will ask the Dark Forbidden Lord." Soon, the terror of the Dark Forbidden Lord will be displayed to all living beings. Yes. The black shadow dissipated. Jing Tiangong looked up at the top of the hall. It was the scene of a galaxy, bright and beautiful. Dark Forbidden Lord, when can you visit my dreams? I can't do it anymore. Jing Tiangong felt a little despair. Why did the Dark Forbidden Lord disappear after the calamity ended? At the Buzhou Divine Mountain, Han Tuo strolled through the mountains. Along the way, he could see many living beings cultivating. Fighting and killing were forbidden here, so it was very quiet. The living beings here didn't even dare to roar, afraid that they would alarm Li Daokong. Senior Li is truly powerful. He actually created such a divine mountain. Han Tuo sighed. Along the way, the Buzhou Divine Mountain's magnificence shocked him. Even as a deity realm existence, he felt tiny when facing the Buzhou Divine Mountain. The Kane Qi on the mountain was extremely dense. It was not something that the Divine Palace Dao Field could compare to. Several days later, Han Tuo came to a cave. The goal of this trip was to find Han Yu. However, after coming here, he was immersed and delayed for a few days. Han Tuo had already captured the aura in the cave abode. It was Han Yu. "It's indeed my bloodline," Han Tuo muttered to himself as the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He didn't expect his descendant to be so outstanding. He suddenly felt that he was not alone. "Young friend inside, come out." As Han Tuo spoke, he subconsciously placed his hands behind his waist and assumed the posture of a senior. Han Yu carefully walked out of the cave abode. He was stunned when the sunlight shone on him. Han Tuo couldn't help but mutter, "Father." Han Yu frowned and asked warily, "Who are you? Why? Are you calling me your father?" He didn't dare to say anything else, afraid that he would offend this person. EAD new chapter S on no VEL in calm. He could sense that Han Tuo was stronger than him. Han Tuo came back to his senses. His gaze softened as he smiled and said, "My name is Han Tuo." Han Tuo! Han Yu's eyes widened. He had not forgotten this name. Clang! Han Yu drew his sword and charged at him. Han Tuo frowned and flicked his finger. Han Yu was sent flying and crashed into the mountain wall. He gritted his teeth and stood up. He wanted to continue attacking, but he was suppressed by a powerful dermic power. He wasn't the only one. Han Tuo couldn't move, either. Han Tuo turned to look at the top of the mountain and said, "Senior Li, I'm sorry. We won't fight anymore. He's my descendant. I'm here to find him." Li Daokong did not reply, but the dermic powers that bound the two dissipated. Han Yu gritted his teeth. "Why are you looking for me?" Han Tuo understood why he was so angry. After all, the Han family had been wiped out. Han Yu snorted. "No! Why? Back then, I begged you, but you didn't reply. Now, I won't beg you anymore. Do you think it's my fault that the Han family was destroyed?" Han Yu was silent. This matter was indeed not related to Han Tuo. It could only be said that the Han family was too weak and couldn't protect itself. He took a deep breath and said, "It's indeed not your fault, but I won't go with you. Han Tuo, just you wait. I'll surpass you sooner or later. I'll wait for the day you ask me for help." He wasn't angry. This kid didn't understand the importance of potential. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't compare to him. Han Tuo also understood his potential. He already had the chaotic physique. Only a few people in the world could reach this realm. As his own descendant, he could tell that his bloodline was diluted through the generations. No matter how strong Han Yu's potential was, it would not be that strong. Han Tuo asked, "Are you really not coming with me?" "No." Fine. Han Tuo did not stand on ceremony and left. Han Yu watched him leave with a complicated expression until he disappeared on the other side of the mountain range. Humph. Just you wait. Han Yu snorted and entered the cave abode. He didn't hate Han Tuo. He only wanted to prove to him that he did not need to rely on his ancestor. No! Han Yu stopped in his tracks. He suddenly thought of that ancestor's ancestor. He had been in the immortal world for so long, but he had never encountered that ancestor. He had a feeling that that ancestor was definitely an extraordinary existence. I have to prove it to him. Han Yu's fighting spirit soared and his eyes became firm. At the same time, on the peak of the Buzhou Divine Mountain, in an ordinary-looking stone hall, Li Daokong was thinking, "This child looks so similar to the sect master. I actually didn't notice that the Han family was wiped out and only he survived." Li Daokong pinched his fingers to deduce Han Tuo's descendant and learned of the Han family's situation. He suddenly felt that Han Ju might have specially arranged for Han Yu to survive. Could it be that this kid possessed potential that he was unable to see through? The more Li Daokong thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. After all, Han Yu was too similar to Han Ju. Another 1,000 years passed. Han Ju left his cultivation state on time. He pinched his fingers to deduce and deduced Han Tuo and Han Yu's encounter. He was amused. There was a good show to watch. If there were no accidents, it was impossible for Han Yu to threaten Han Tuo. Han Ju thought for a moment and decided to support Han Yu and let him provoke Han Tuo in the future. Of course, he wouldn't reveal this thought to prevent Han Yu from thinking too much. He wasn't afraid that Han Tuo would be agitated after knowing the truth. He had helped Han Tuo many times in the dark. If this kid was still an ingrate, he would throw him into the primordial heavenly prison. In Han Ju's heart, no one was more important than himself. This was also the reason why he could reach this point. If he risked everything for others, Han Ju might have died on the path of cultivation already. We'll see in the future. Let him cultivate for a period of time first. Han Ju thought silently. There was still a long time. He didn't have to be rash and immediately help Han Yu. He started checking his emails. Your good friend Huang Zuantian was attacked by a mysterious pseudo-sage and was severely injured. Your disciple Ji Xianshan was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your good friend Zhang Guxing was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your son Han Tuo was cursed by a mysterious curse and was severely injured. Your good friend Immortal Emperor Samsara was cursed by a mysterious curse. Your good friend Empress Hutu discussed the Tao with a mysterious sage. Her cultivation has increased greatly. Your good friend Jing Tiangong has cursed too many times and has encountered heavenly punishment. He has developed mental demons. Your good friend Di Juan crossed the river of destiny and was attacked by an ancient chaotic deity. Huang Zuantian had indeed suffered a failure. Han Ju couldn't help but mourn for him. Huang Zuantian was already a pseudo-sage. It was very difficult for him to die in the immortal world, so Han Ju was not worried about his life. Looking down, Jing Tiangong was courting death. This fellow must have pretended to be the Dark Forbidden Lord and suffered a backlash. Han Ju decided to find him later. He also saw Di Juan being attacked by the ancient chaotic deity. These ancient existences were really rare. Existences like Ancestor Shitian, Jade Bodhi, Seven Tao Sage, Di Juan, and other transcendent Great Tao existences rarely appeared in the emails, let alone being attacked. Their circle was too novel to Han Ju. It was unknown what transcendent Tao expert and Great Tao divine spirit would do other than cultivate. Was it boring? After becoming strong enough, there was nothing worth pursuing. It was indeed very boring. Han Ju laughed at himself. He was really worrying for nothing. He continued reading. Almost all his good friends outside were moving. Without deducing, Han Ju let his imagination run wild and found it very interesting. After reading all the emails, Han Ju sent a dream to Jing Tiangong and used the image of the Dark Forbidden Lord. In the dream, Jing Tiangong was extremely excited. How many years had it been? The Dark Forbidden Lord had finally appeared. He knelt in front of Hanju and cried in joy. He didn't have the bearing of the previous sect master of the Jia school or a pseudo-sage at all. Hanju used the voice of the Dark Forbidden Lord to say, "Why are you pretending to be me recently and suffered the outcome of mental demons?" Jing Tiangong said in shame, "I just want you to show your power again. You're really powerful. You can actually sense that I'm suffering the backlash of the heavenly Tao." His eyes were filled with admiration. "What do you think about the Darkness sect and the Divine Palace?" Hanju asked. Jing Tiangong said, "The Darkness sect can only hide in the dark. I need the Divine Palace as a shell. Furthermore, it has great potential. They have two prodigies with a chaotic physique." "I knew it." This fellow was going to the Divine Palace to be a traitor. Hanju said, "There's no need. Cultivate well and help the Divine Palace become stronger. One day, I will appear. Before that, don't act recklessly and don't harm yourself." Hearing this, Jing Tiangong was extremely touched. Hanju continued, "What you have to do now is to become as strong as possible." He thought for a moment and raised his finger to impart to him the 5 elements divine light. This mystical power was not created by him alone. It could be traced back to the mighty Kong Xian of the primordial world. After learning this mystical power, Hanju rarely used it, so he was not afraid that others would think of him. Find new Tories on Novi, L, Bin, Kong caught off guard. Jing Tiangong was forcefully taught a mystical power. He couldn't move. After a long while, when Jing Tiangong opened his eyes, the dream had already ended. This mystical power is so domineering. Jing Tiangong was pleasantly surprised. The 5 elements divine light could forcefully snatch an enemy's dharma treasure and forcefully break through an array formation. Snatching treasures. There was nothing it couldn't capture. Jing Tiangong rejoiced in his heart. He had benefited from a disaster. At the same time, he was more determined. Inside the Taoist temple, Hanju was in a good mood. Jing Tiangong's loyalty made him very comfortable. After the calamity, it was very precious that Jing Tiangong still respected him. His only flaw was that this fellow was too reckless. The Divine Palace was already controlled by Hanju. It could even be said that Zhang Guxing was already controlled by him. If Zhang Guxing wanted to deal with him, with a command from Hanju, Jing Tiangong and Immortal Emperor Samsara would definitely attack him. This was the effect Hanju wanted. All the major forces were controlled by him, and the person in charge on the surface had nothing to do with him. Even if the person in charge failed, the punishment of the heavens would not fall on him. He could still enjoy these powers. Currently, Hanju didn't have any ulterior motives. He just wanted to make preparations in advance. Next, he would target the Dragon Palace and the demons. His disciple Long Hao could go to the Dragon Palace. Jiang Yi, Da, and Shao Er could go to the demons. However, the famous race had nothing to do with him. Hanju fell into deep thought. Against the famous race, who should be planted as a spy? Currently, the famous race did not have a pseudo-sage. If one was willing to help, they would definitely not reject him. Pseudo-sages were too rare. All those with a pseudo-sage were extraordinary forces. The power of the famous race was based on the number of clansmen and not the top cultivation. Dao Sovereign was still very far from the pseudo-sage realm. Hanju put this matter aside and focused on cultivation. Plotting was only convenient. His cultivation was the most important. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 3,000 years passed. Hanju ended his seclusion and started to preach the Tao for the hidden sect. Just like before, he preached for 100 years. Before the disciples could recover, Hanju quietly left. For years later, Hanju heard a voice. "Fellow Taoist Han, we have something to discuss. It involves the next sage position. You can come to the Universal Hall." It was Heavenly Venerate Shen Du's voice. Hanju hesitated for a moment before asking in his mind, will my life be in danger if I go this time? After staying at home for so long, he also wanted to go out for a walk. 4 billion years of lifespan will be deducted. Do you want to continue? Continue. It had been a long time since his lifespan was deducted. Hanju was not used to it. No! Without the word temporary, there was nothing threatening. Hanju immediately relaxed and headed towards the 33rd heaven. The door of the universal hall opened. Hanju flew into the hall and saw that the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate and Sect Master Tianju had already arrived. The two sages nodded at him. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu sat behind and looked at him calmly. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate took a step forward and smiled warmly. Fellow Taoist Han, you're finally willing to come out. I thought you wouldn't come again. Hanju said, I came out to take a breath of fresh air. I might be absent from the next few gatherings to cultivate. Oh? You're already so strong. Why are you still cultivating so diligently? To protect myself when the next calamity comes. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate shook his head and laughed. To protect himself. The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate couldn't forget the scene of Hanju forcefully killing the Tao Heavenly Devil. Was that the power to protect himself? Sect Master Tianju also came up to greet him. However, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu didn't say anything. 5 minutes later, the other sages arrived one after another. Chou Shilai and Heavenly Venerate Wufa only nodded slightly at Hanju. It was difficult to imagine that these two sages were already his slaves. After the sages gathered, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu said, I called you here today to discuss whether we should leave the Heavenly Tao ranking. Fuxishan asked curiously, what is the Heavenly Tao ranking? The ranking list set for all living beings can promote the fighting spirit of all living beings, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu replied. Hanju had a strange expression. Fortunately, the divine light of the sun and moon yin-yang protection covered his face. Ranking? Are you playing an online game? The South Extreme Heavenly Venerate raised his eyebrows and asked, what ranking? Could it be cultivation? Cultivation can't directly determine strength. Emperor Shao said, Tao discussion ranking? Let's talk about Dharma treasures. Heh, everyone knows that you gave the Divine Might Buddha a Heavenly Tao numinous treasure. What's a Heavenly Tao numinous treasure? You can take out one. Chou Shilai and the South Extreme Heavenly Venerate began to bicker. These two sages always targeted each other. The other sages were already used to it. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu said, how about ranking it according to the providence of the Heavenly Tao? We pursue the prosperity of the Heavenly Tao and not the order of the wilderness where the strong eat the weak. The sages felt that it made sense. Hanju also looked at Heavenly Venerate Xiandu in a new light. If it was really ranked according to strength, Hanju would have to look down on him. It was difficult to say about Providence. Some living beings might not have a strong cultivation level, but they had contributed to all living beings in the Heavenly Tao. If it was ranked according to the providence of the Heavenly Tao, a pseudo-sage might not be ranked at the top. After the sages agreed, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu began to cast his spell. It had to be said that Heavenly Venerate Xiandu was very capable. He could have done it directly, but he had to ask the sages and give them face. Li Muyi's EQ was not so high. He was even petty and suspicious. From the beginning to the end, Heavenly Venerate Xiandu did not develop any favorable impression or hatred towards Hanju. It was as if Li Muyi was not killed by Hanju. No sage mentioned this matter again as if it had never happened. An hour later, we sages have decided together to create the Heavenly Tao Providence Board. All living beings in the various worlds can see the top million Providence beings in the various worlds in their meditation. The Providence of the immortal world is in the top 5. You can obtain the sage position before the Heavenly Tao is ripe. Heavenly Venerate Xiandu's voice resounded throughout the myriad worlds. The sages also left. Hanju returned to the Taoist temple. The living beings in the 100-peak Immortal River were discussing the Heavenly Tao Providence board. Hanju closed his eyes and checked the board. A golden scroll appeared in his mind. He pulled it down, listing 1,000,000 names. First place was Li Daokong. The merit providence of the Buzhou Divine Mountain was too huge. Hanju wasn't familiar with the following names. As the leader of the heavenly race, Ji Xianshan was actually ranked outside the top 10. Interesting. Next, all living beings would definitely fight for Providence. There would definitely be battles, but overall, it would promote the development of the Heavenly Tao. The providence of the Heavenly Tao was not just obtained from killing. If one killed too many, negative karma that went against Providence would also appear. Most importantly, it was to contribute to the Heavenly Tao, such as creating a race, Providence sect, preaching the Tao, teaching the Tao, creating a world, and so on. Great Loose Heaven, who created the first mortal world, was ranked 18th. The sages were not on the list, but for this list, they would definitely help their disciples. Hanju watched for a while and then started cultivating. The Heavenly Tao Providence board would last for a long time. He didn't have to do anything for now. It depended on the other sages' plans. In an absolutely dark space, a beam of light alternated between illusion and reality. When he got closer, he saw that the light was emitted by a floating island. The island was filled with countless purple crystals, causing the environment on the island to be extremely dense. There were mountains and rivers on the island, forming a world of its own. However, many purple crystals were also growing on the mountains and trees. In a crystal bamboo forest, the evil Heavenly Emperor was meditating and cultivating. Black chi coiled around his body and occasionally transformed into the shadows of fiend celestials, fighting each other. The evil Heavenly Emperor wore a dragon-patterned black robe and had domineering makeup. He was terrifying and oppressive. The murderous aura between his brows was extremely heavy. From his appearance, it made others feel that he was a terrifying demon. The once dignified Heavenly Emperor was already like a completely different person. The evil Heavenly Emperor suddenly opened his eyes and saw a figure appear in front of him. His true appearance could not be seen. "What is it?" Evil Heavenly Emperor asked. The figure in the purple crystal let out a hoarse voice. "I've already swallowed 5 little Heavenly Tao. You can choose one." Hearing this, the evil Heavenly Emperor was moved. "So fast? Where are those sages? Either dead or escaped." "All right, give me your greatest little Heavenly Tao." "Yes, evil Heavenly Emperor. Don't disappoint me. In at most 10 billion years, I will sweep through the immortal world sooner or later. At that time, you will face all the living beings in the immortal world." He was looking forward to that day. Hanju felt that this was his contribution. If not for him, the Heavenly Tao would have been destroyed by the Tao Heavenly Devil after it restarted. If not for him, the sages would have fought openly and secretly. The immortal world would still be barren now. Sigh. Hanju felt that he was so noble. Just like that, another 1,000 years passed. Hanju was getting closer and closer to the perfected primordial chaos zenith heaven golden immortal realm. Breaking through before reaching 100,000 years should not be a problem. After reaching perfection, he could look forward to the freedom sage realm. One step at a time. He walked very steadily. Hanju opened his eyes and looked at the figure kneeling outside the Taoist temple. Morongqi. It had been tens of thousands of years since this child came to visit him alone. For years ago, when he came, Hanju didn't let him in immediately because of his OCD, so he knelt for 4 years. The door to the Taoist temple suddenly opened. Morongqi was pleasantly surprised. He hurriedly stood up and quickly walked into the Taoist temple. After entering the temple, Morongqi knelt down and bowed. "What is it?" "Grandmaster, I want to be like Uncle Master Su Chi." "Yes?" Hanju sized him up. In the past, he trusted and looked forward to Morongqi's development. However, this fellow's potential was not good. Now, Hanju usually didn't think of him. Murongchi was already at the 6th mystic divine origin realm. He could be considered fast among the personal disciples, but he couldn't break through to the zenith heaven realm. Grandmaster, this matter isn't Uncle Master Su Chi's fault. I went to ask him, but he didn't answer. I guessed it. I guessed that you have the ability to change the potential of a disciple. No matter what you need me to do, I can do it. Murongchi said seriously. He yearned to become stronger too much. He was once the war god of the divine palace, but in the hidden sect, his potential was mediocre. Not to mention the other personal disciples, even some unnamed disciples had better potential than him. Hanju said, you might die. I'm not absolutely certain it'll work. I'm willing. I won't regret it even if I die. I believe you definitely have such a plan. I'm willing to use it as an experiment and sacrifice for the future of the other disciples. If I can succeed, I will definitely repay the hidden sect in you, Murongchi replied very firmly. If it was any other disciple, Hanju would definitely not agree. This would waste his energy. However, facing Murongchi, he was still soft-hearted. If Murongchi's potential increased, he would be more suitable to be the eldest disciple of the hidden sect than Dao Sovereign. Are you ready? All right. Excited, Murongchi's body trembled. Hanju's eyes narrowed. Murongchi's body turned into dust, leaving only his soul. Murongchi was stunned. Before he could react, Hanju directly took him into the primordial world. In a corner of the primordial world, 173 Fiend Celestial Chi floated together. Su Chi was already carrying a ball of Fiend Celestial Chi. EAD new chapter S on no VEL and Calm Hanju had already decided which chaotic Fiend Celestial to choose. Combat Fiend Celestial. The Fiend Celestial who lived to fight was a perfect match for Murongchi's War God title. It could be seen that Hanju favored Murongchi. He wrapped Murongchi's soul with his dermic powers and pushed it towards the Fiend Celestial Chi of the Combat Fiend Celestial. Hanju could produce Fiend Celestial Chi not only because of the Grand Unity aspect, but also because the primordial world had the nebulous primordial Chi, the chaotic origin stone, and other supreme treasures. With many conditions combined, there was a possibility of producing a chaotic Fiend Celestial. It was only a possibility. When Murongchi's soul fused with the Combat Fiend Celestial, an unprecedented pain caused him to roar. Hanju didn't seem to hear it and continued to fuse. Murongchi was also very firm. He only roared instinctively and did not complain. After 300 years, Murongchi and the Combat Fiend Celestial finally condensed together. To completely fuse them still required a long time. In front of the Fiend Celestial Chi, Murongchi's soul was so weak. If not for Hanju's protection, he might have died already. Next was to let Murongchi adapt to the Fiend Celestial Chi. During this process, Murongchi endured extreme pain. On the other side, Murongchi's disappearance attracted the attention of the other personal disciples. Li Xian'eo took the opportunity to find Hanju. After knowing that Murongchi was sent by Hanju for a secret mission, he didn't ask anymore. Sect Master, what do you think about the famous race? Li Xian'eo asked very humbly. Hanju saw through his thoughts. This fellow wanted to take the opportunity to get closer to him. Just speak your mind. Li Xian'eo trembled in fear and hurriedly said, I discovered that sages are supporting the famous race, but there are no famous zenith heavens or pseudo-sages among them. I guess that the sages supporting the famous race are lone sages like Emperor Shao and Fuxishan. The famous race take in famous living beings in the heavens. This intention is very wide and is very recognized by the heavenly Tao. Their future is limitless. The hidden sect can arrange it in advance. His thoughts were the same as his. Hanju suddenly thought of Murongchi. If Murongchi succeeded, it would be more suitable. I know what to do. The next batch of disciples with limitless potential can go to the famous race. Sect Master is wise. I have connections in the famous race. You can tell the leader in advance and let him be prepared. Li Xianao did not say anything else. He bowed and left. It was impossible for the famous race to reject the hidden sect's support. After all, the hidden sect was a sage force. Just like in the ancient times in Hanju's previous life, the sage sect was an aristocratic family. With the coming of chaos, the aristocratic families would invest everywhere. No matter which ambitious person won, the aristocratic families would benefit and survive. The opponents of the famous race, demons, and other races would never be the sage sect because it was impossible to defeat them. On the contrary, if they accepted the support of the sages, they could climb higher. Hanju continued to stare at Murongqi. Although he could multitask, his cultivation was still affected. This was also an important reason why Hanju was unwilling to let every disciple transform into a chaotic fiend celestial. No matter how strong the disciples were, they couldn't catch up to him. He nurtured disciples only to make it more convenient for himself in the future. While Murongqi transformed into a chaotic fiend celestial, the immortal world was also changing violently. More and more mighty figures appeared and shocked the immortal world. Li Daokong had always occupied the top of the Heavenly Dao Providence board. The rankings behind him kept changing. Ji Xianshan also forcefully entered the top 10. The heavenly race immortals preached everywhere to protect the weak living beings. The statues of the immortals stood everywhere in the immortal world, and the power of faith transformed into providence. Days passed and the world changed. 3,000 years passed. Murongqi finally adapted to the fiend celestial qi. Without Hanju's protection, he would have long been devoured by it. Hanju could finally cultivate in peace. Before this, he looked at Han Tuo. This fellow was preaching to his disciples. The current Han Tuo had already accepted hundreds of disciples, and there were more than 1,000 grand disciples. All of them were not mortals. Not bad. He became more and more used to his identity as a divine palace elder. Hanju looked at Hanyu next. His expression became strange. Why was Hanyu cultivating beside Li Daokong? Hanju counted with his fingers. Hanyu had become Li Daokong's disciple. Hanju cursed silently. He was inexplicably unhappy to see Li Daokong accept Hanyu as his disciple. When Li Daokong returned, he had to give him an earful. Ever since he had become Li Daokong's disciple, Hanyu's cultivation level had increased day by day. He had also learned many Sword Dao mystical powers and became a true sword cultivator. Li Daokong treated Hanyu very well and even gave him a Heavenly Dao Numinous treasure sword. Heavenly Dao Numinous treasures were rare treasures even to sages. Seeing this sword, Hanju's impression of Li Daokong improved again. Since he treated Hanyu sincerely, he was giving Hanju face. Hanyu was finally settled. His cultivation in the future would definitely be smooth sailing. Even if Hanju did not give him a back door, he could still become an expert. Li Daokong only had one disciple. Just as Hanju was spying on Hanyu, someone came to visit him. Li Yao. Since Hanju was free, he let her in. Li Yao walked in front of him. Although the two of them were already Dao companions, she didn't act too impudently and was still a little respectful. Is the Heavenly Dao Providence Board very important? I want to fight for the sage position, Li Yao said bluntly. Hanju said, you're only a Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. You're still far from becoming a sage. It's indeed far, but the accumulation of providence also needs time. Li Yao said seriously, the more sages there are in the hidden sect, the better. Li Daokong has the potential to become a sage, but he only joined us after he became stronger. I'm worried about him. Hanju smiled and said, this isn't like you. Li Yao said helplessly, alright, it's actually the thoughts of the other personal disciples. Hanju's heart warmed slightly. He didn't think that the personal disciples were selfish. If they were all thinking for him, they would definitely take turns to ask Hanju for the method to attain the Tao. They had chosen Liao to come because they saw the relationship between him and her and it was easier to convince him. Hanju could see favorability, but it wouldn't last forever. Even 6-star favorability might also decrease. What do you think? Hanju asked. Liao said, I plan to bring Dao Comprehension Sword, Fairy Xixian, Xian Qing Jun, and Chang Yuer out to create a Providence sect for women or female living beings. Such a sect has yet to appear. There's an opportunity. Hanju felt that it was feasible. What about Xing Hongxian and Tu Linger? Why aren't they going? Liao said, Miss Xing said that she wanted to cultivate diligently and give birth to a child for you. She wants to bear a prodigy. Tu Linger said that her identity is special and not suitable to go out. Hanju was caught between laughter and tears. These two girls definitely wanted to find him later in private. Yes, you can choose some female disciples from the 100 Peak Immortal River. When you decide to go out, just speak. I can hear you. You don't have to look for me. Thank you, Sect Master. Oh? You're still calling me Sect Master? Liao blushed when she heard that, but she hesitated and could not change her tone. Hanju didn't force her and let her leave. Several months later, Liao, Xian Qing Jun, Fairy Xixian, and Chang Yuer are left with more than 500 female disciples. These female disciples were all immortal emperors. With Liao leading the way, Hanju was not worried. If something really happened, he could sense it as long as it was in the immortal world. Time passed. 41 years later. My name is Liao. My master is the immeasurable merit divine might heavenly sage. Today, I established the Holy Mother sect and will take in all the women in the world as my disciples. I will teach you the sacred technique. No matter race or cultivation level, you can come to the Orchid Sinking Region's Chilean mountain range to join us. Liao's voice resounded through the myriad worlds. Her tone was solemn, making Hanju very glad. She could already hold her own. However, this name. Hanju couldn't help but think of something else. Putting aside the biases of his previous life, the Holy Mother, one, had a high status in the immortal world and could not be tainted. The other personal disciples didn't look for Hanju, which made him very satisfied. Only a pseudo-sage could leave. This was an iron rule. He couldn't change it. Unless Hanju agreed. Yeah. This was a double standard. Hanju was already close to 90,000 years old. Not in the mood to cultivate, he stood up to preach the Tao. 13th Heaven, Heavenly Race Main Hall. Ji Xianshan sat on the Emperor's throne. His expression changed as the immortals in the hall discussed. The sect master of the Holy Mother sect is said to be a zenith heaven cultivator. Isn't immeasurable merit divine might heavenly sage the master of the hidden sect? Ha ha ha, our hidden sect has a deep foundation. Are you shocked? The first establishment of the Holy Mother sect is supported by the hidden sect. The heavenly race should go and congratulate them. It can be considered a public edict. I think so. The immortals discussed enthusiastically. The hidden sect had sent too many immortal emperors to the heavenly race, which was already equivalent to half of the hidden sect. The heavenly god general noticed that something was wrong with Ji Xianshan and asked, Heavenly Ancestor, what are you thinking? With that said, the gods quietened down and looked at Ji Xianshan. The expressions of some immortals became subtle. They were all from the hidden sect. When Li Xianao left, he had instructed them not to forget their true identities. They were disciples of the hidden sect. If Ji Xianshan dared to express his dissatisfaction with the hidden sect, they would definitely not tolerate it. In their opinion, without the hidden sect, how could the heavenly race be where they were today? Ji Xianshan said, the heavenly race naturally has to congratulate the establishment of the Holy Mother sect. However, the Orchid Sinking region is the territory of the Jie school. Recently, they have been preparing to attack the demons and have formed an alliance with our heavenly race. The immortals frowned. The Jie school was a sage sect. If the Holy Mother sect established a sect in their territory, there would definitely be conflict. It was not good for the heavenly race to help anyone. The heavenly god general also frowned. Be it the hidden sect or the Jie school, they couldn't provoke any one of them. The divine general said, "Actually, we don't have to worry. We will definitely visit the Holy Mother sect. As for the Jie school, we'll try our best to help." Compared to the orchid sinking region, the Jie school is more ambitious. An old immortal said, "What if they want us to make a choice?" The divine general was silent. "Just destroy the Jie school, then." A hidden sect disciple snorted, his tone wild. The other immortals of the hidden sect agreed. They were from the hidden sect and knew that Liao's status in the sect was not simple. It was very easy to choose between the two. Ji Xianshan cursed silently. What was he thinking? With Hanju behind him, what was there to be afraid of? He had to choose the Holy Mother sect. In a Taoist temple in the Jie school. Your F4 stories on O, V, LBN. CM Huangzuantian was meditating when a disciple rushed in and said, "Sect Master, the mountain range occupied by the Holy Mother sect is the spirit meridian of our sect. What should we do?" The Holy Mother sect's master was the immeasurable merit divine might heavenly sage's disciple. They had no choice but to be cautious and not rashly offend her. Huang Zuantian opened his eyes and said, "The Qilian mountain range will directly belong to the Holy Mother sect. Send someone to visit them with a huge gift to state our intentions to be on good terms with the Holy Mother sect." He was in a good mood. In his opinion, the appearance of the Holy Mother sect was a good thing. Hanju finally made a move to support him. After the Holy Mother sect became stronger, they could join forces with the Jie school. They couldn't be too strong. As for whether the Holy Mother sect would affect them, Huang Zuantian was not worried at all. He had always thought that he was a hidden sect disciple. Could the position of sect master of the Jie school compare to Hanju's trust? One traditionally refers to a kind-hearted person, but the internet made it a negative term for a person that urges kindness but is hypocritical and selfish, or ignorant and incompetent and causes more harm than good in their self-believed good actions.